Hey everyone, welcome back to Prescribed Vibes. I'm Sierra. Stephanie is not here with us today, but I do have a co-host, a guest host. His name is Marion. Marion's a friend of mine who has been in the trenches recently with his own self-growth and discovery and healing journey, and it's been really fun and fascinating to watch as he goes through that process, and I thought it could be maybe valuable for you guys to hear a little bit about what that looks like, what that feels like in real time, maybe get some perspective, some tips, things like that. So, welcome, Marianne, to Prescribed Vibes.
Well, hello. It's good to be here. Been a fan of the show for a while, so this is kind of surreal. I feel like I'm finally on an episode of Survivor.
Kind of are.
When you think about mental health, I mean, really, it is like it's kind of a self survival type of thing. It's like you're surviving your own self at times.
Yeah, and just the tumultuous experience of breaking ourselves down to build ourselves back up in a way.
Yeah, it's really been fascinating. Honestly, just a fascinating week in general, but the past year and a half or so, especially. But like in the last week, I feel like I've made some like tremendous strides and everything. Like honestly, when it comes to building ourselves back up, I kind of feel like Bob the Builder. It's like, can I fix it? Yeah, I can. So,
You have all the tools now.
I do.
At least most of them.
Most of them. I'm still
I don't think we're ever done. Yeah.
still collecting my toolbox.
Yeah.
Like honestly, too, for the crowd, like I would definitely like to say that one of my integral tools, or what I've known, is having a supportive friend like you that not only is instrumental in like mental health, but just as far as like personal growth. Like you've definitely been like a ear to listen, shoulder to cry on at times, a hand to the back of the head when necessary. Um, but yeah, so where do you want me to start?
Um, I think from the beginning, you and I kind of talked about, right? Like it starts at the beginning. It is a journey from start to finish, and we're obviously in the middle of our own. We're not at that period at the end of the sentence yet, but it starts in the beginning. So where do you start from your perspective?
Honestly, for me, and I know my mom's gonna listen to this, so shout out, mom, I love you. But I guess it really starts with my childhood. Like I said, shout out to my mom. My mom has very much been my anchor being in my life. She is the support without question. And I think a lot of times there's a stigma to a mama's boy. But like for me, my mom is indicative of every decision I've ever made was because that woman really busted her hump, so to say, to make sure me and my little brother weren't feral. Um, which I mean, I guess I don't know, I'm a little feral in my own way.
Semi-successful. Not feral in the right ways, right?
Yeah, exactly. But no, like I mean, no one's childhood is Wally and June Cleaver, the Brady Bunch. It's not so cookie cutter and beautiful. Like again, my mom's not gonna like this because she carries a lot of shame. Which if y'all haven't, go back and listen to the shame episode. It's helped me out a lot. But she carries a lot of shame. My childhood was very very chaotic. Um, my dad, I think, is a central figure in a lot of reasons why I've gone on the journey that I've gone on. He was a very complicated man. I think a lot of people probably resonate with. They have at least one parent that was like their ride or die, and that other parent that was just like, if I could just slap this person upside the head. But in like all honesty, he was a very complicated man. He was very arrogant, very very stern. He was very, which trigger warning. I don't know who might be listening, but he was very abusive in every sense of the word, mental, physical, emotionally. No, none of the like super bad abuse. Thankfully, that's one that I know for a fact he wasn't about. But like as far as the other, and I think too, like he had this very weird, borderline Freudian like relationship with his mother, my granny, who was a really important woman to me too. She showed me a lot of love and nurturing and kindness, and I carry that with me today. But she was not without her faults too. She was very much an enabler, and she enabled a lot of my dad's bad thoughts and bad habits. And I think with just going into something with nothing but enabling and being told that you were making no wrong moves, I think that gave him a strong falsity that he was without question doing the right thing a lot of times. And like the
Do,
best, or go ahead.
do you think that that's like to his own detriment? Like how we talk about accountability being a tool and a superpower, like the opposite end of that being enabling, and how that actually is to that person's detriment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so because he was never really held accountable outside of my mother. My mother would call him on his BS all the time. And a lot of times that cost her dearly, cost her a lot of sanity many years. And the thing was, especially with my dad, he showed me favoritism by, because it was me and my little brother. We have an older half brother, but that's a really long story that I don't want to bore the listeners with. But my dad, he showed me favoritism, but his favoritism came with a lot of like the best way to describe it, he would beat me down for even the smallest of little mistakes. Or if I didn't know something that he knew, he would belittle me for not already knowing it when I was in the process of seeking knowledge. So it's like,
I have a question.
go ahead.
I'm going to interject
No,
so
go ahead,
much.
please do.
Um, I think that's a really good point, right? So that experience sounds like it teaches you that you're not allowed to experience the process of learning, right? You
Yeah,
should just know it, and if you don't, then you're something, right?
absolutely.
And like, how have you experienced that in adulthood or in like
Like
your
honestly,
growth?
yeah, honestly, and you'll see as I get like further along in my like story of growth, I definitely went into certain points of my life where I would either like shoulder something thinking that I could handle it, or even in my own personal growth, I got to a moment where I thought I'd gone far enough and I could implement what I learned. But the thing is, it's like a never-ending cycle. Yes, I had I guess again the falsity of like, hey, I've learned, I've healed. Let me um, let me take it from here. I got this. And it's like I made this analogy to you the other day. I've been, you'll understand why, like I do, but I've been a bodybuilder for 14 years now of my life. Since I was 21 years old, I've been working out in the gym. And going back, when I had that mindset of I've learned enough, let me go forward in this, I created a hypocrite out of myself because that's the wrong mindset if you're a bodybuilder. Because when you're working out and you plateau or you're not seeing the results you get, you course correct. You change your workout method, your routine. You might be doing progressive overload one week, but then the next week you do a deload week to allow your body to catch up. And it's all about very much just learning your body and what is right and what isn't. And I feel it's the same way that I've come to learn and see is that you can't stop the process of growing and healing. You have to continue to course correct and learn. Like in an example, it's like, I'm very big on like shoulder day, but have I noticed that like my front delts are getting big enough? Like I'm just doing straight shoulder presses. I need to maybe do barbell presses or arnold presses, something of that nature, which I know a lot of people aren't. But anyways, just go with it. But but yeah, you have to change up that rhythm, and it's the same with your mental health, and the same with your growth and your healing. It's like you can't just stop when you plateau. Just because you stop seeing results doesn't mean that you stop trying. That just means that you have to course correct.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned from that, anyways.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison, and it's important to, and I don't know if it translates the same way in the physical aspect, but it's important to have humility and to know that, like, you're never done learning, you're never done growing. And as soon as you start to think that you are, one, you're going to get arrogant, and two, you're limiting yourself. And so to be diligent about having that mindset and humbling ourselves enough to know, like, I don't know everything, and I never will, and I'm not perfect at everything, and I never will be. There's always something I can learn from this situation. I can always be curious about it in some way, as opposed to reacting. And open mind versus closed mind, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like honestly too, I feel in the antithesis of that, I feel like bad learned processes, bad habits, bad behaviors
Mhm.
can further push you away from the goal and everything. So like if you want to go in and eat a large pizza, that's cool, but you have to pay the consequences. So like in my life, with the tumultuous relationship with my father, um, I learned very on that love needed to be chaotic to mean something, and that was a very hard process. Um,
So you started to seek that out.
yes, absolutely. I especially one through like just acts of violence, more or less. It's like I felt at home when I was in fistfights with people. Like I got to a point where like I would fight at the drop of a hat, and it's like it was a familiar feeling to me because like someone grabbed me that was like, well, hey, that's a connection. And the same, it translated maybe not physically, but mentally into romantic relationships. So I was always chasing like the 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 quick high, the instant, like the chaos, the fun, the oh we shouldn't be doing this. I made a lot of really bad choices, and that led into my marriage, which our love was skin deep. We both have admitted it since then. But like I chased the quick thrill. She was spunky. She would stay out all night, drinking and partying, and she was covered in tattoos, which is nothing wrong with tattoos, disclaimer. But um, I was chasing that quick thrill because that chaos. I craved that chaos.
It's almost, I was talking to a client about this the other day actually, when it comes to um, like those comfort zones, right? And comfort zone being a bit of a misnomer because it's not necessarily that it's desirable or even consciously comfortable, but on a subconscious level, that's what we are familiar with, which makes it comfortable, right? And in the opposite of the sense of no news is good news, right? You know that saying?
Yeah,
Like, oh, no news is good news. When chaos is your comfort zone, no news feels like terrible news. Like, right? No conflict feels like problem.
oh, absolutely.
If I'm not, if we're not, like you said, it feels like connection. If that's the only form of connection we're familiar with that we know to equate to love and connecting with someone in a meaningful way, then peace can feel dangerous.
Absolutely. Like, and fast forward a little bit, and I'll get back to this later. But I actually had recently, and you'll see my most recent attempt at a relationship. I had made the comment one time. I was like, "Could you like yell at me or something jokingly?" Because like I didn't want her to yell at me because I'm way past that. But that really upset her because it was like she herself had problems with men constantly berating her for being healed and in a good place and not, just flying off the handle. So it's like people were equating the need for her to be verbally abusive with some kind of form of love. And it's like, it's really a sad thing when you think about it. Because, you take someone that is capable of I can communicate. We can talk about this. There's no reason to cuss, raise our voices, and like you said, it's like that no news is good news type of thing in that situation. Like if she's talking from a place of healed and good intention and stuff, and like that'll turn away somebody that's not ready for that kind of compassion and peace. And I discovered that too, circling back to the marriage, like once the honeymoon phase, so to say, wore off, and I'll use this phrase a lot. We held mirrors up to each other. We realized we were both 24, and um, it was no more fun and games. Like we were adults, we were married, we were like paying bills, living in a house together, driving a vehicle, and things got real, and neither one of us knew what to do. And that's when the cracks started. That's when holding up the mirror to each other. I was in no way ready to be a husband at the time, which I don't think anybody's ever truly ready. In any facet of life, there's no manual. Um, the only way you're going to find a manual is go to your car's glove box and pull that one out. That's it. But as far as life, and I even had that conversation with my mother, like circling back to that. She said the other day she felt she failed as a mother. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You did the best right thing that you knew to do at the time. You're 25 years old, fighting for your life, raising two boys, and you did the best you could. And that's all I could ever ask. And that's I'm truly grateful for that.
And I think that's a message that everybody needs to hear at some point or another is just as much as everyone else is doing the best they can with what they have, you're doing the best you can with what you have at all times. And we hold the hindsight, knowledge, and experience against a prior version of ourselves that didn't have that to factor in as if they did you wrong somehow. They were doing the best they could with what they had, and we end up rejecting versions of ourselves based on that judgment of you should have known something you didn't know. How dare you? And that's really unfair.
Absolutely, I agree. And um, I think with that too, that bled into our marriage. We didn't know that um, we were angry at each other for not knowing how to be a husband and a wife. And like I said, you can say 18's an adult. We were 24. We were kids. We were kids cosplaying adults, and we were making a lot of mistakes. And by no means in my ill-tempered youth was I an angel whatsoever. I was very harsh mouthed. I was starting to replicate my dad in a lot of ways because if that's how he chose to show love, why wouldn't I choose to show love loud? And that it really broke down, and more or less bad things happened and transpired, and we got very toxic. So we ended the marriage. Um, so then in typical at the time me fashion, which you'll see kind of a recurring pattern for a little bit here. I met a lady, and she was with somebody else. Full disclaimer: it's not pretty, and I'm not going to paint myself in a great light, but I've done the work and forgave myself for it. But she was in a loveless relationship, and she had a son, so she kind of felt like she was anchored. And it was again the chaos, the forbiddenness that we shouldn't be doing this. I was at the time I was 28, early 29, and I should have knew better. And I pursued her in a very long, very toxic on again, off again relationship for quite a few years. It started off again, the honeymoon phase. And then once the euphoria broke down again, held the mirror up, and there's that magical phrase, held the mirror up, and we realized like we were chasing the quick high, and we didn't realize that like, hey, she's still in a relationship with somebody. I live a few states away. Like this is gonna be difficult. Like, are we gonna pull this off? And like it spiraled and insecurities. And I felt because she would constantly berate and browbeat me for not spending enough time with her or give her enough attention, things like that. And like I kind of locked myself into this on again, off again cycle for quite a few years, as to where I felt a tremendous amount of shame because I felt like I let her down by not giving her enough. And it would just be this weird rinse, lather, repeat cycle of try to do better. She would still browbeat me. I would stay. Try to do better. Browbeat me. Stay. It was a vicious circle. And then one day, I finally snapped, and I can't do this anymore. And I told her, I was like, I can't breathe every day. Like I feel like I'm suffocating. I like I'm underwater, and I can see the surface, but literally there's cinder blocks tied to my feet. And I need to get away from this because it's killing both of us. It's killing me. And we separated, and honestly, I've gone no contact with her for about 2.5 years now. So that was, and for me, making that step, that was kind of the preliminary spark of, hey, we don't have to accept abuse as love. We don't have to accept that you don't have to water yourself down or weigh yourself down to just because to feed into that belief that chaos is some form of love because that's all you've known.
Yeah. What do you think your motivation was in that relationship to continue to try to do better after being brought down?
Honestly, I think it was guilt because she would constantly tell me how I was letting her down and that the way I was weighing myself down by feeding into the whole narrative that maybe we weren't just not compatible. And instead I was letting her down, so I had to like hook or crook, tooth or nail, figure out how to make things right.
So, how much of that is you trying to, whether it's convince or prove something, like you said, rather than being able to admit that maybe it just wasn't compatible? What's the alternate option?
Honestly, it was 100%. I was trying to prove something and show that like I was worthy of that love. I was trying to prove that point. The constant just telling me how much I let her down, disappointed her,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just putting so much weight on myself instead of realizing like, hey, this wasn't feasible or sustainable from the get go, and we should have never done this to begin with. And instead of looking inwardly, we were looking outwardly, and I just felt the need to fix it no matter what. Like I was killing myself to try to fix. I was trying to put a band-aid on a hole in a submarine.
It almost sounds too like this might sound strange, and feel free to correct me if the wording's weird, but almost like because your dad wasn't held accountable and didn't demonstrate what that looks like or how to use that tool, accountability almost became your cross to bear. Like you took accountability for everything, whether it was yours or not.
Absolutely, that's 100% pretty much that's it. I felt that, and that's been a driving force too. Is like I for a long time I bore my father's sins. I constantly told myself, as I got older, as I matured, like I'm not gonna be like him. I'm gonna, be a responsible, better person, no matter what. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
talk down to people and treat people like garbage
And
and
overcorrection.
overcorrection. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like where he was. You ever heard that? Was that song? This is left, I'm right. So it's like he was all the way left on one end, and then
Mm-hmm.
me feeling the need to shame his inadequacies, I went all the way right.
You weren't going to be anything like him.
Nope. Like, and the thing too is like that was another driving force. Like I said, the driving force in my life. I've gone to great lengths, almost in a flagellating way, to ensure that I am nothing like him.
Yeah. And that's something, even just outside of that dynamic, we have to pay attention to. And I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. We have to be mindful of the pendulum swing. When we are correcting something, most of the time we're going to overcorrect because we haven't found the balance. We don't know where baseline should be. So we're going to overcorrect and then we settle from there to center, to baseline. And that's not a failure. That is part of the process, and just to accept that that's what we have to do, except it's not going to be ideal on the other end of the spectrum either. Doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just teaches you how to recalibrate.
Exactly. And I think, like I said, after that, that was the first initial steps. Me really trying to like find a happy medium. Like I don't want to accept all of that, but I also have to somewhat alter my bad learned behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
I had to course correct. I had to pivot, as y'all like to say on the show. I had to pivot.
Pivot.
Yeah, plateaued, and I needed to learn a new workout.
Yeah.
So then I took some time to myself, and then I decided to get the very bright idea to get into online dating. And then I met a woman from Southwest Louisiana, and I and this also varies into. I'll be the first to admit, and full disclosure, I am very much an anxious attachment style. That's very much who I am. I've learned that, and I've been doing the work to switch to that's more secure style. It's taking some work, but we're getting there. We're doing big things.
It does not happen overnight.
It doesn't. It's just like Rome wasn't built in a day, you know.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of it all. But and I say about me being an anxious because she was very much, and I didn't realize this at first, and this kind of goes back to y'all's attachment style episode. She was very much an avoidant.
Yep.
So she come in with a lot of baggage. Hey, spoiler, we all do. I think there's an old saying of everybody comes into a relationship with baggage. You can either pick it up together or stumble over it.
Yeah.
And she'd had a lot of disappointment in her life, and there I go again, trying to overcompensate on the disappointment. I told myself, okay, these couple of gentlemen didn't treat her right, so I was going to do everything in my power to show her what healthy, attentive, full-on love was. And it was good for a while. You'd made a comment in that episode where you said that you spend the last portion of the relationship before they kind of go off in full avoidant mode and just disappear from you, chasing that initial high.
But that picture that's painted in the beginning, that you're like, oh, well, I know how it can be. I've seen it. I know they're capable of this. And a lot of times we go into, clearly I must have done something wrong for them to take that away. How can I fix it?
And I very like I was like the final boss of anxious at that point. Like I was checking my phone constantly because I've always been very, especially as I've matured, gotten older. I've discovered I'm very in tune with emotions. I'm very hyper vigilant, as you've called me out on before. I'm very like you'll say two words and you'll get a text from me like, okay, cool, what's wrong? Because just that's how I feel. But also like that's something I gotta work on too. Is like not every shift in energy is something maybe somebody's processing and they just need 5 minutes.
Well, and here's an important takeaway from that I don't think gets enough attention is that hypervigilance as much as it feels protective and sometimes even like cool, right? Like, oh, I'm like, I have superpowers. Like, you are doing so much emotional labor and mental work just paying attention to and interpreting every little thing around you, where you can give yourself permission for that to not be your responsibility anymore. It's not my job to have these superpowers. It's not my job to read people's minds. If they have a problem, they can tell me that. I'm not going to assume I did something wrong, something is wrong, and I need to fix it. It's exhausting and it pulls us so far outside of ourselves. We kind of get lost, I think.
I really, you really hit the proverbial nail on the head because that's kind of what I was doing because I felt like so when I saw her drifting away, that's like what kicked me into like full overdrive. Like I was exhausting myself. I was shirking at work. I was not so I'm a streamer and a video gamer and those are my hobbies. I didn't touch video games for a couple of months. I slacked on the gym. I slacked at work. It was causing like friendship problems because I was so hyper focused on feeling I needed to be the knight in shining armor. I needed to be Superman. And one day out of the blue, I get a text message that says, "Hey, we need to talk." And obviously that's the king's crown of instant anxiety. We need to talk.
Okay, right now, yeah.
Yeah, like now, like we call now. Like, so she called me and she told me that she could no longer give me what I needed. She felt trapped. She was guilty. She felt a lot of shame because she was still at a place of not being able to let anybody in. And she didn't ghost me, but she definitely, I guess the best metaphor is the path was still there, but she laid leaves across it to hide her trail. She made it very hard to access her, very hard to reach her. And honestly, I crumbled and I cracked. Um, that that broke me in ways that today I'm still trying to find words to describe to people. I lost my everything. I went from it, and here's the fun part too. It was a week before Valentine's Day, so
Lovely.
yeah, that was the best. It's like yeah, I think the Infinity Gauntlet of let down on the holidays is you gotta starve during Thanksgiving, get fired before Christmas, and get dumped on Valentine's Day. So,
Yep.
but so anyways, I I got in a very very dark place because I in my brain convinced myself I was like I did everything right, and she still left. Like it got dark enough to where if I didn't respond long enough, like the search party was coming. Yeah, it's
That I did everything right and it still wasn't good enough. Talk more about that.
that it's like I'd spent so many years running away from this at this point, this perceived notion that I was not to be my dad. I was not going to be him. I was going to know true love, and if I failed marriage, and I failed situationship or relationship or whatever you want to call it, but like I put so much weight and self-loathing on myself because I felt like I did everything right and somehow I still failed because I there was a in my brain there was a wall for me to tear down. It was my responsibility to tear it down and make her feel loved and safe, and she ran, and I was crushed because I felt like I failed, and I I got to the point I felt like if I could fumble the love of my life, what's the point of me living? Like if I'm such a failure, if I can't even with all the love I showed her, if I can't even keep her feeling safe and like she could grow with me, then there was no point in going on.
Which touches again on that accountability piece, as though like everything is dependent on my ability to fail or succeed, and kind of having a closed off mindset around there being other possibilities, right? It sounds like you've been on this mission subconsciously since you were little with your dad to like succeed, right? Like where you felt like you have failed, you're like the golden star at the end of the fucking. They don't cuss on this spot.
I do not. That's bad language.
I do curse in sessions, so.
Honestly, if I had a therapist as cool as you that says the F word and has tattoos, I probably would have went to therapy sooner.
My new marketing campaign.
The therapists we can all relate to.
Literally.
They're just like us.
Oh my god, they're just like us. But no, that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow being acceptance and love, as if you have to get past all the obstacles throughout the course and get the prize at the end of it, or you failed, and that's not accurate, that's not true as to how relationships and connection and attachment work. But that will break you down to perceive it and experience it that way. One of my, I'm sure I've said it on here before too, my little therapy catchphrase for having compassionate curiosity for each other's subjective experience. There's two people in that relationship, in that connection, who both have their own sets of experiences, fears, doubts, insecurities, strengths, positive attributes, values. Like, there's so many factors involved in trying to find two, for at risk of sounding cliche, like two puzzle pieces that fit together correctly.
Absolutely.
That is the tough thing to do, but you don't get mad at the puzzle piece for not being a match to the other one.
Spoiler. We're going to find out a little bit something about that towards the end. But so after I had my little minty bee, as they like to call it.
Not meant to be.
As they like to call it. I started, I told myself, I was like, all right. So obviously, I think, I can't remember who said it. It was, might have been Ernest Hemingway, something about the strongest man doesn't stand alone or something like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the good old fashioned smart thing. I'm going to get some help. So,
All right.
yeah.
Therapy for the win.
I sought out therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. And I got to a really good place. I broke out a lot of things. I come to a lot of the conclusions that you were coming to, Sierra. It's like I was being held back by this perceived notion that somehow I was a failure if I didn't outlive my father. And I'd come to a lot of terms with that. And that's why I learned attachment styles. And I learned truly and I accepted that my relationship, she when again, there comes a magical phrase, held up a mirror, and she saw that she was going to have to, I guess, so to speak, face who she was and have to really put in the work. It scared her, and she tucked tail and ran. And honestly, it should have been a sign because we used to have this joke that I was the golden retriever and she was the black cat I was chasing. So red flag. And I really put in a lot of work. And I got to a really solid place. So I was like, okay, well, I have been handed some tools. So we're gonna poke our toe in the water. And we're gonna go back out there and we're gonna give her the old good old fashioned try again.
So we've taken some time, we've gone to therapy, we've learned some things, we're feeling confident as a mother.
Absolutely. It's like, you know
A
what?
whole new world. I'm a new person.
Exactly. Looking back, again, for putting it in a bodybuilding aspect, I was starting to show the six pack. I was like, oh, results. I got this.
Spoiler alert.
So started dating again. I dated around a little bit, talked to a few ladies, went on a few dates. And then we get to literally the apple of my eye, who's still a really good friend of mine up to this point, assuming, I haven't, drank her favorite soda or ran over her dog or anything. But so I met her, and full disclosure again, here we go, back to our old habits. I fell head over heels in freaking love with this woman. I was enamored, because she was finally that piece I've been looking for in all the chaos. She was very smart. She was very attuned and secure in her own emotions. She was a very secure attachment style, so that fed to me, and I started feeling very secure because, like, I used to be the one like, man, she hasn't texted back in 4 hours. Who is he? But but with her, it was like, oh, she hasn't texted back in 4 hours. Work must be really picking up right now, and I
That
really,
was new.
yeah, it was weird because me and her even had a conversation about it one time because I was explaining to her because I felt like I needed to explain my attachment style because she was very savvy to that herself. And I said I'm very much an anxious. And then like 3 hours went by and she was like, "Oh, I got busy at work right after you said you're anxious." I'm like, "Hey, you know what? Honestly, you're making me feel very secure."
We touched on that in the attachment style episode. I think that was our last episode, right? We touched on how interacting with different attachment styles can bring out different levels of your own.
Yeah.
Right? It is a little bit like cause and effect in those scenarios. But to your point, it can be negative and it can also be positive. Like if you're anxious and you're around someone who's avoidant, they're going to trigger your avoidant, or they're going to trigger your anxiety because they're doing things that are indicative of this person's pulling away, they're going to leave me. We get more anxious. Somebody's more secure. They've kind of showed us, one, that we can communicate about those things, and to manage our expectations differently. We're not assuming the worst every time because it hasn't been realized. Anxious and anxious. You don't hear about that a lot.
You really don't. I wonder if it's like a. Let me pick your brain on this for a second. Do you feel it's some kind of like polarity thing? Like the anxiouses and the avoidance attract each other,
Yeah.
and the secures and the anxiouses attract each other, maybe.
So here's something that I've heard kicked around recently, is that both anxiously and avoidantly attached people have in common that they are not emotionally available, as much as an anxious would likely argue that. Because even to the anxious, I think that security can almost feel suspicious and uncomfortable. Or someone, when you're like an anxious person being used to being left, and for someone to be like overly showing them love, affection, attention, or at least even just being secure in that can feel almost dangerous too.
Yeah.
And so I think two anxiously attached people are going to be like, you're sus. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say that. There was distinctively a girl I was talking to romantically before this relationship, and me and her both were just like, we were both anxious. And we were both very like, there's too much like good going on.
It's like that Spider-Man gif where they're all pointing at each other.
Exactly.
We're like, it's you. No, it's you. Something's sus here.
She straight up told me, I think I told you about this. She said I had like too many green flags and it made her nervous.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Tell me you're toxic. Tell me you're toxic.
Exactly.
Like, this is too good to be true. Okay, maybe go talk to someone about that.
Hey, I've just spent the last 20 years fighting that, so hey, there's hope. But um, so back to Wonder Woman, as I will refer to her as Wonder Woman. So again, she's very in tune with her feelings. She's very smart. She's very motivated in her own healing. Like she's had her run-ins with avoidance as well, and so she come in with her own baggage. But the cool part, like I said earlier, she wasn't tripping over it. She was picking that bad boy up. Now here comes a very familiar part of the story.
Oh,
I had the mirror held up.
the dreaded mirror. Mirror on the wall.
Exactly. Who is the most insecure of them all? So I saw all this and I was like, this woman deserves the utmost best because she's coming with the best. I gotta match energies, match everything. Like so I went in with I'm gonna be super healed man and I would go into a situation and before anything would happen at all, I would start over explaining myself and there was a couple times I tripped over some fears and insecurities of her own, and I realized that I was making a lot of mistakes. So I made this reference to you the other day, and I'd said that you ever when you're washing dishes and you go to knock a cup over and you reach for that cup to grab it and save it, but when you're saving it, you knock the rest of the counter over, like the Steve Urkel effect.
Right.
I was Steve Urkeling very, very badly. I would mess up and then I would panic and be like, oh my God, she's going to see the crack. She's going to leave me. I got to fix this. So in trying to fix it, I would make things worse.
Yeah.
So it come to a head finally. And she called me straight up on my BS. And I think honestly, I love her more for that. Um, she was like, look, we are not aligned. Um, I want to grow with you, but you aren't growing at the rate I need to have a sustainable partner. So she ended things, and it was amicable. And again, we're still very close, um, very tight. Like this is probably one of my best friends. I will probably love this woman until my heart stops beating because she when she ended things, she did the greatest thing, the greatest act of love anyone had ever shown me in my life. She knocked me on my ass and made me look in that mirror she held up to me. And
House of Mirrors.
That's really
It's always a different angle. It's always something different, right?
And in doing that, I realized this was probably the most beautiful, like I said, the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me because like after that it was like catalyst.
It sounds like it was almost like you say final boss, right? Like the final boss in, oh, it's not about do better, try harder, so you will succeed instead of fail. Like we start to sink into it like quicksand. The more we panic, the more we flail and try harder, fix it, do better.
Exactly. And that's the thing I realized that was the first breakthrough I made is that I was walking forward, I was walking towards the future with her, but I was looking behind me. I was looking at my dad, my failed relationships. I was even looking at her failed relationships. I felt like again, I thought that I had to shame her ex's inadequacy by outperforming on every level.
It's a benchmark. It's a tangible GPS pin, for lack of a better term, for you to be like, oh, that road is off limits, like that path doesn't work. And let me just normalize that for a second. Like, our brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to take any and all information available to us and apply it to how do we do it differently or make it work this time with the information that we have now to protect us, to help us survive.
Exactly. And well, what I realize is while looking backwards while trying to walk forward, are you going to do that in real life? Absolutely not. You're going to stumble.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fall. And I realized in that moment, like I'm talking tear-soaked eyes, middle of work. I work in a very blue-collar field, so you don't want me standing in the middle of the warehouse with Mike and Seth on deck and tears coming out of your eyes. So shout out to Mike and Seth if they listen to this. But 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 I was like, this whole time I've been so busy looking back, trying to shame the lack of love that I got, the lack of accountability my dad had. I was trying to shame that inadequacy. I was constantly looking back so I could move forward, and the whole time I needed to turn my head and look forward. I the love and the respect and the expectation was in front of me. Like they laid the path out for me, and I was tripping on my shoelaces, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I got smacked in the mouth with it. Like I immediately journaled all this down and like called this girl and I was like, "Hey, this is what I come to," and she was like, "Took you long enough."
She could have told you that.
Yeah, and
shout out to journaling, by the way.
Oh yeah, I wonder where I learned that from.
Huge advocate, guys.
Yeah, no. If you can see my note section right now, it's like a 8-book series of why my life sucks. And then I took a look even deeper at that because so one of my favorite. I know a lot of people. You ever heard the cliche? I want to love like Joker and Harley, which is very toxic. It's very toxic.
Very toxic.
I've always said I want to love like Gomez and Morticia.
Yeah.
And I started analyzing Gomez. I said, okay, so what is Gomez's biggest key factor? Gomez is confident. Gomez knows beyond a shadow of a doubt who he is. He doesn't dispute how he loves. He doesn't dispute how much love he's capable of doing. He loves Morticia endlessly, and he maintains his confidence and his flow and his groundedness for her, and she loves him back for it. And I was like, oh my God. And then like I took it a step even further, asked myself, this was the biggest question I asked myself. It hit me so hard. I said, love both of them as much as you love yourself. And I said, I can't do that. And then myself replied, which by the way, I don't have multiple personalities. I just have conversations with myself. But
as we, if you guys aren't having conversations with yourself, seek therapy, please.
Yes.
So that's the only way we're aware and conscious and intentional.
Listen to some of the voices.
Have discernment.
Yes,
please.
yes. Use your best judgment.
Like, the inside out cast, like you gotta label these guys. Yes. Which ones can you trust?
Absolutely. Listen to your committee, just not all of the committee.
Yeah. Some of the committee members are questionable characters.
So when I asked myself that, I said, love them as much as you love yourself. And I said, I can't do that. And I said, why? Because it would break my heart to know that those two are being loved that little. And I'll say that again. It would break my heart to know those two were being loved that little.
While you were talking about that, I had one of my little That's So Raven premonition. What's the word? Intuition moments. Just the visualization of you, people holding these mirrors up to you all along the way, right? And that being detrimental because it's very sensitive for someone else to hold up a mirror. It's easy to get defensive about that. It's easy to be like, whoa, this person sees through me, and that's scary. And we shut down or we self-destruct or it can have that negative outcome. But it sounds like at a point recently you sat the mirror down in front of yourself and you're like, okay, everyone keeps showing me this mirror.
Yeah.
I'm wanting to cuss again. Everyone keeps showing me these mirrors at these different angles and it's freaking me out and it's triggering, it's overwhelming, it's not going well.
Yeah.
What if I do this in a more controlled way and I put the mirror there and I sit down in front of it and I observe and I study in a way that doesn't feel like I'm necessarily being judged because at least it's just me here and it's still not going to feel great.
Yeah.
But I can be honest and real and transparent with myself and do that work from a place of self love, not from a place of like judgment or being put on blast by someone else who I'm trying to convince to love me.
Yeah. And that was the another thing to harken back to another previous episode. I think when I did look in that mirror, I did feel a little bit of shame, acknowledgement of it, and it wasn't so much like a self-flagellation or self-criticism. It was man, I feel really, really icky that this woman basically handed me the keys to the castle and I dropped them down the sewer. And it hit me pretty hard. And like I said, I've maintained a friendship with her, and I'm so grateful for that. I made the reference to where I said, "You kicked me from the nest,"
Mm.
because you even told me this reference, like you can cross the river, or what was it you said about crossing the river, but you gotta like step on the stone first, or something like that.
Yeah, like, hopping across the stepping stones, but you can't keep one foot on the first stone. You
Yeah,
have to take that trust fall and jump to the next one and the next one. If you fall in, you got to trust you know how to swim. You're going to be able to catch yourself and get up and finish crossing rather than drown.
yeah, and that's the thing is I took my foot off the rock, and as soon
Mm.
as I did that, it's like switches started flipping in my head. It was so surreal because like my way of thinking drastically changed so quickly. Now, granted, it'll continuously change, but just the initial wave of it, like we were talking about it, and you said like it's almost like you're a healing savant because like I catch on quick, I understand things quick, and I'm not gonna let that quickness deter me either and slow me down because again, just because you see the results, you can't allow yourself to plateau.
Well, and there's the click, right? But then there is the actual integration. Like there's things that we know logically that we haven't integrated emotionally yet. And once we're able to have that click, right? These are things that you knew in theory before. They weren't
Yeah,
new concepts to you,
yeah,
but they click emotionally, they integrate in that way. And then there is learning how to, just because we now know the thing doesn't mean that we mastered it,
yeah,
right? We've just
exactly.
kind of like unlocked that new level. And spoiler alert, unfortunately, there's another level and another level and another level.
It's a very exhausting game of Mario Party.
It's like a nesting doll. That's how I've described it before. Is like
Yes.
there's a new version of you, a new version, and it's just like, what do you mean there's another layer?
Cool thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a tattoo on my arm. Originally, it was indicative of it's a phoenix. And I don't know if you know Greek mythology or if you've read Harry Potter. Phoenixes, when they get old, when they die, they burn up and they turn into a pile of ash. And from that ash, a new baby phoenix is born. And they're powerful and they're young and they're rejuvenated. So, like, getting away from my dad when he passed away, like, I got this tattoo. I didn't realize that this tattoo hadn't yet served its purpose because I realized, like, I'm going through, like, my phoenix cycle right now. Like, I'm a brand new baby phoenix. I'm just come out of the ash of unlearning really bad behaviors and bad habits. And, and it's taken me a little bit to get off the ground, flapping the wings and what have you. But it's honestly been one of the more rewarding and fulfilling things. And it's honestly in the past couple weeks. So the avoidant that I hadn't heard from, we found ourselves in communication. She hit me up. She had done work and realized her attachment style and apologized to me. And what she said to me, I think, is going to be burnt in my cortex for the rest of my life. She said, "You love loudly and you love boldly. Don't you ever let anybody not accept that." And I was just like, I was blown away.
Yeah.
I even called you crying. I was like, it wasn't the problem.
And we talk about how important it is to know and trust yourself. Like there was a part of you that knew that that wasn't the case. Like, right, we're not asking for too much. We're asking the wrong person, and to trust yourself in that rather than turn and engage in friendly fire.
Exactly. And and doing that, like, it was just so serendipitous, just so fast, so much flowing in. And I got a little overwhelmed because maybe I need to work on my damn controls a little bit, but because I'm very much a very emotional person. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cried at the end of Avengers Endgame for obvious reasons, so I've got a big heart. But in doing that, like, so many things I'm understanding. Like, I wasn't the problem in my relationship. I wasn't the problem in my childhood.
Exactly.
My dad had very unhealed wounds, bad habits he was enabled, and it created a false sense of a narrative for him. And that's how he chose to live, but that was not my burden to ever bear.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that more so because, aforementioned, my most recent relationship, I bonded with her son. And even as friends, I still bond with her son. And that little boy looks up to me like I'm gold. And it dawned on me, it was like, I spent so many years running from being that man. And it took the love from one kid to be like, hey, you were never him to begin with.
Yeah.
And I told my mom about it. She was like, any good young man with good intentions, if they look up to you, they're doing the right thing. And it's like, finally, I made this reference earlier. I feel like I managed to reach down and slip the cinder blocks off of my ankles, and my head just crested the surface.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my entire life, I feel like I can breathe.
Yeah.
Like I am so obsessed with myself right now.
Yes, queen.
But I'm obsessed with myself.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I think so many of us feel like being obsessed with ourselves is off limits because there's like there is a toxic space you can go with that.
Yeah.
But a client said this to me recently, actually. Monsters are not concerned with the fact that they're monsters, right? If you were going to get so obsessed and self-absorbed to the point of being narcissistic about it, you wouldn't be concerned with whether you were going to do that or not. Exactly. You know what I mean? So, like, if you are someone who has put a wad of caution tape around self-love, self-confidence, because it's off limits, because you don't want to be arrogant and too full of yourself, too narcissistic about it, trust yourself to be able to do that in a way that's loving. Like you said, like, oh, I wouldn't love them the way that I love me. That would be such a disservice. Mm-hmm. Stop being a disservice to yourself in that regard. No. It doesn't make you a bad person to treat yourself well, to regard yourself well, to give yourself credit for who you are.
Absolutely. And I granted, I'm still in my infancy of it. I've got a lot to learn, a lot to go. But like you said, we're what's the nesting doll or whatever?
Yeah.
The nesting doll. Like I'm in a level right now, but like there's another level after this. And, like, I can't wait to see it. And it's like, this is the way I look at it. Like the other day, um, so I have health issues. Like I won't go down the rabbit hole too much. I have an autoimmune disorder, but part of it affects the old ticker. And you were a little worried about me the other day, and I kind of, you asked if I was going to be okay, and I said I had this weird, just felt need. I felt like I needed to rant. And I was like, honestly, if I'm not okay, it's still going to be okay because in the short little amount of time that I've healed, I've looked back with such an open, clear lens on my life, and the whole time, the love I was looking for has been there. The love I needed was from me. And
You had what you needed all along, a little Wizard of Oz
I
moment
really
there.
was tapped my credentials together.
There's no place like home.
Place like home. And uh, it was very surreal. And um, the aforementioned lady, like the most recent relationship, she'll forever just, I don't know how much she'll understand how important just to my life in general, not even just a healing aspect, but just the way our relationship was conducted. She made me step back and be like, hey, I didn't need to put on this bravado the whole time. I needed to sit back and, do the next right thing, as a very nice therapist lady taught me. But um, and it was so integral, and I'm so grateful. And like, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but it went the way I needed it to go.
Ooh, that's hard.
It was.
There's grief in that.
Yeah.
But we gotta get that this. As with anything we grieve, with like acceptance of, okay, that's not what I wanted, but it's what it is. And
Yeah.
where do I go from here? It sounds like you made the transition from surviving to living.
It's it's wild, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I and you know what's funny too is like, I mean, I don't know if I'll talk about ages here, but I'm 34, and there was a brief moment I was like, man, it took me 34 years to figure this out, but it's like, yeah, but what do you do with the next 34 years?
100%. And that's something that comes up a lot too, right? There's not a lot of wisdom in that, for one, to hold on to. Oh, if I would have known this, if I would have figured it out, like you're wasting more time.
That was too, like I had done in the initial when we broke up, and like I started healing and really working on myself. I was like, man, if I was just this guy a month ago, this would have been fine. But again, it's just like a double-edged sword. It's very much, it was a needed. She was very much a needed catalyst, and I don't mean that in like a negative connotation. It was, she entered my life uh, for the right reasons, and she definitely helped me out a lot and continues to help me out. So I'm forever grateful for that.
It's important to have those people. It sounds like it showed you things could be different, right? It doesn't have to be the chaos. It doesn't have to be the destruction.
Now,
There's another way.
yeah, and she's the one I made the comment to about the why can't you just like gripe at me or something? And like I wasn't even like serious when I said it, but still, then that hit a nerve, and I was like I really, that I think that was like a small little glimpse too. It's like, man, people really do latch on to that chaos, and it's it's one of the more freeing, uplifting things when you finally like let go of the chains and
Yeah.
you start to swim up. And I'm really looking forward to what's next. Kind of like Pinocchio said, there's no strings on me left anymore. So
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, what do the next 34 years look like? Some people never get to this point. Some people never hit emotional rock bottom or decide no more. Something's got to change. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to hold the mirror up for myself and figure out the common denominator and what the issues are, what is within my control. And so, again, not just surviving for the rest of our days, but I get to decide from here. I have a say in what that looks like, what's important, how I choose to respond and behave, and what I pursue, and all of those things. It's a lot of freedom.
Exactly. Like I feel like finally I'm in control of the narrative,
Yeah.
and I get to paint the picture I want instead of trying to paint the picture I think I needed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let the picture draw itself. Like, be open to whatever comes at the end. You know what I mean? Rather than it's supposed to look like this, and now, oh no, it looks different here and different there, or it's something different altogether. And that's jarring. That's grief.
Because it was, and like honestly, going forward, I'll everybody like so this will be I guess I don't know if my closing or not. We've been here for a while, but and nobody wants to listen to my voice all day. But
but if you do, he also has a podcast that you can go check out. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, my beard is haunted on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's spooky stuff, but I don't want to self promo too much. But I what was I even getting at?
Oh, I saw an opportunity to plug.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
Closing remarks and some.
Don't be afraid to bet on you. Yeah. Don't be afraid to love you. Don't be afraid to make a change if you have to. Don't be afraid to pivot. And if you are afraid, guess what? You can't control the last 24 hours. You can't control the next 24 hours. You control the 24 hours you're in. And I think that's the biggest lesson is love yourself and don't be afraid to seek something better outside of your norm. You know?
Mm-hmm. Be scared and do it anyway.
Yeah.
The fear's gonna be there, and if we wait to not be scared, we'll wait forever.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've heard that adage, or kind of going back. Like, there's no, people are always like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I'm more financially stable to have a baby. Like, you're never financially stable enough to have a baby, so it's like, there's no manual.
Just jump.
Yep.
Just jump, and here's the thing: is to trust yourself that you will get through it, even if it doesn't go well, even if it doesn't go the way you want it to. Take the risk, take the jump, and trust yourself to be able to overcome whatever happens, for better or worse.
Absolutely. And I know, broken record, but I'm excited.
Yay.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing with us and getting vulnerable.
Hey, thank you. I don't even think I've ever told you half of what you just probably heard, so.
Yeah, no. That was. Hopefully this helps somebody. Hopefully you guys can relate in some way, shape, or form. Even just normalizing how exhausting and challenging, but also worth it this process is.
Absolutely. And also, if I could say one last thing in parting too, I know there's like a huge stigma on men seeking mental health.
Yeah.
Throw all that garbage out of the way.
Absolutely.
Help yourself.
Yep.
Help you, and don't let old school aberrations, don't let small-mindedness. Hey, men can cry. I cry every day, at least once. So it doesn't make you weak. Honestly, I think reaching out for a helping hand makes you stronger.
It definitely takes strength. It takes overcoming that fear, right? And that's courage. Courage is being afraid and doing it anyway. And you're right. I mean, that stigma is hopefully a dying one. But men have brains and psyches as well, and neurons, and you can't escape the science, baby. You know? We won't go down that road.
Again, thank you, and sorry Stephanie couldn't make it today, but thank both of y'all for allowing me an opportunity. You guys are awesome, and I really appreciate it. I think I speak for the public. We appreciate what y'all are trying to do, because I think mental health awareness just alone, like people, I don't think, it's kind of sad. You probably know more statistically than I do, but I feel like people, the percentage of people that do seek help is probably not high enough.
I think it's getting better all the time, and I appreciate that. As someone in this field, I think people are gaining more and more of an understanding of how important and how, honestly, how attainable this kind of growth and this ability to really change your life is. I think there was a lack of hope and understanding in a lot of ways leading up to now. And I know that there still is for people, but I think it's becoming less and less so that people are starting to understand, even just through the science, which I could geek out about, we know this, but just seeing it happen, like, oh, it doesn't have to, life doesn't have to be like this. There are other ways. I just have to learn. And that's more attainable and more possible than we maybe think it is. It almost seems like a fairy tale, and it's just really not. Yeah.
It's as easy as honest, I think, to get on the phone.
Yeah.
But the work you have to do, though, you do have to do.
It is. It's work. It's not easy. If it were easy, everybody would do it. It's not, oh, I'm healed. I feel good all the time and everything's great. It's, holy crap.
And that's the mistake I made between my avoidance and the healthy relationship. Like, I gave myself a false sense of hope. I stopped working out and I plateaued.
Yeah. So keep going. There's always something new to learn. Keep the curiosity, keep the open mind, but in a way that is compassionate and graceful toward yourself. That's the key factor people miss. So again, I appreciate you sharing your perspective, hopefully helping some people out. Go listen to My Beard is Haunted if you want to change it up a little bit. Where can we find that?
Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I just released my first technical episode is on the phenomenon known as Bigfoot. And then we got some cool episodes coming up. Maybe a certain Prescribed Vibes host might appear on there soon too. So
a mutual collab. So if you want to hear more of me, who doesn't, you can go over there soon as well. Today's vibes, you want to prescribe them for everybody?
Look, I'm going to prescribe self-love.
Self-love. Today's vibes are prescribed as self-love. Love yourself through it. Thanks for showing up, listening to us. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.